για γενική παρακολούθηση.
Το 2012 είναι η χρονιά με το εντονότερο ευρωπαϊκό χρώμα για την Κύπρο. Η Κύπρος αναλαμβάνει την 1η Ιουλίου και για 6 μήνες την Προεδρία του Συμβουλίου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Τι σημαίνει Προεδρία, ποια αξία έχει για την Κύπρο και τους πολίτες της? Ήδη από τα μέσα του προηγούμενου έτους, η Κύπρος μαζί με την Πολωνία και τη Δανία συγκρότησαν το τρίο της Προεδρίας. Για 18 μήνες ανέλαβαν να συντονιστούν στην προώθηση των κοινών ευρωπαϊκών στόχων. Η Πολωνία έκλεισε το εξάμηνό της το Δεκέμβριο, δίνοντας τη σκυτάλη στη Δανία. Με ένα ταξίδι στη Βαρσοβία, το ΡΙΚ καταγράφει τις εμπειρίες των Πολωνών. Την ώρα της δράσης, στις δύσκολες στιγμές, την ώρα των αποφάσεων. Η ολοκληρωμένη εμπειρία της Πολωνικής Προεδρίας προσφέρει στην Κύπρο τη δυνατότητα να αξιολογήσει την πρόοδο που έγινε στα μεγάλα ευρωπαϊκά θέματα. Τι είναι αυτό που φέρνει τόσο κοντά τους Πολωνούς με τους Δανούς και τους Κυπρίους στην προσπάθεια για μια επιτυχημένη Προεδρία? Η απάντηση αναζητείται στις επιπτώσεις της μακρόσυρτης οικονομικής κρίσης. Αγωνία όλων είναι η υπεράσπιση του ευρώ και της ευημερίας των πολιτών. Είναι οι τελευταίες ημέρες της Πολωνικής Προεδρίας. Ο Υπουργός Ευρωπαϊκών Υποθέσεων της Πολωνίας, Μικολάι Ντογέλεβιτς, αναδεικνύεται ως το πρόσωπο κλειδί στην υλοποίηση της Προεδρίας. Κατευθύνει το Συμβούλιο Υπουργών, εκφράζει πολιτικά την Προεδρία, παρουσιάζεται ενώπιον του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου. Ένας συνεχής αγώνας δρόμου. Τον συναντάμε στο διάλειμμα ενός δύσκολου ημερήσιου προγράμματος.
We are just 1 week before the final and the crucial meeting of the European Council. We know that you are quite busy with many things. The fact that the economic crisis is overshadowed all the procedures we are discussing, all the aims, all the priorities. Everyone is talking about the economic crisis. You started with a slogan, more Europe. Now this is not just a slogan, it's a necessity, isn't it?
Yes, I think that the crisis has of course shaped the agenda of the Union in the last couple of years. I'm sure that the crisis will also stay with us for some time, so I think also during 2012 Danish and Cypriot presidencies will have a lot to do with helping the Union finding the way out of the crisis. I would expect that we quickly find solutions to stabilize the common currency, that we can show full determination to defend the euro. But I think also more in the long term we will have to provide confidence to the markets that we are fully determined to introduce reforms, and that we will also introduce more transparency and discipline into the public finances.
What was the added value of the Polish presidency on this field, the economic crisis?
It is of course a very relevant question, because Poland is a member state which is not part of the Eurozone. Also the previous presidency, Hungary, and the next one, Denmark, is not. They are not members of the Eurozone. But what we did concretely was, I would mention 3 things. First of all, we negotiated a compromise concerning the so-called six-pack, which is the set of measures, legislative measures, to bring more transparency, discipline to the public finances in the euro. That was extremely difficult package, but we managed to have a compromise. Second, we also managed in terms of a number of practical issues such as financial sector on legislative matters, and also recapitalization of banks. It was the presidency and the whole 27 member states that took decisions, so that was also the role of the presidency to negotiate agreements there. And thirdly, I think we contribute with ideas on how to organize better the cooperation between the 17 Eurozone member states and the whole European Union, so as to ensure that we keep the institutional model of the Union intact and that we keep unity of the European Union.
Η πολωνική προεδρία εξελίχθηκε μέσα από τη λέλαπα της κρίσης χρέους στην Ευρωζώνη. Το φθινόπωρο του έτους που πέρασε, κανείς δεν ήξερε πώς θα ξημέρωνε η επόμενη ημέρα. Ήταν η περίοδος του καλπασμού των σπρέτς, της καταιγίδας των οίκων αξιολόγησης. Η Ελλάδα στο χείλος της οικονομικής καταστροφής, η Ιταλία στο μάτι του κυκλώνα.
Preparing ourselves for the presidency, we were aware that the debt crisis is on fire, really. And what, in our opinion, Europe needs to do is to work in two ways. One way is to heal the disease, which is to fight the debt crisis and the macroeconomic crisis in Europe. Here, the activities are divided between the presidency, which is chairing the ECOFIN Council, and the European Council chaired by the President of the European Union, Herman Van Rompuy. What we are doing is working hand in hand at the European Council level. Member states are deciding whether or not they will finance or reassure the debts of member states that have come into trouble. On the ECOFIN Council, such decisions are prepared and necessary measures are taken to avoid such crises in future. I would point out to the six-pack, the so-called six-pack legislation of the European Union. In very fragile negotiations, we managed to reach an agreement on that six-pack, which is a set of measures aiming at achieving financial stability in the banking sector, as well as the stability of member states' budgets. And we consider it a major step towards fighting the crisis and hopefully towards achieving the goal of never repeating it again. On the other hand, after we have healed this disease, we need to move to having a new sources of growth. We need to boost the internal market. We need to move towards digital internal market. We need to have a more flexible labour policy. Polish presidency in October presented its report on this new sources of growth, which addresses all those issues. I would like to point your attention to one specific issue, which is the unitary patent protection system. Ministry of Economy is right now negotiating with the European Parliament, with the member states involved, which is the number of 25 under the enhanced cooperation, to have the agreement on this package, which will allow us to significantly lower the costs of patent protection in Europe, and thus to help our entrepreneurs become more innovative and more entrepreneurial.
Η οικονομική κρίση προκάλεσε απρόβλεπτες καταστάσεις. Η Προεδρία βρέθηκε μπροστά σε ακόμα μεγαλύτερες ευθύνες. Από τη μία ήταν τα προγραμματισμένα θέματα, από την άλλη τα επίγοντα και απρόβλεπτα της ρευστής οικονομικής συγκυρίας. Όλο το εξάμηνο της Πολωνικής Προεδρίας εξελίχθηκε σε ξέφρενους ρυθμούς. Απανωτές σύνοδοι κορυφής και σημαντικές αποφάσεις στην οικονομική διακυβέρνηση.
Again, we are discussing about decisions which took a long time for compromises and too much effort from presidencies like the Polish presidency. Again, we've got the feeling that always we are one step behind.
I have the same feeling. I fully agree with you, and this is very frustrating sometimes, to have this sense that you're always behind the markets. But the European Union cannot take decisions like a central bank of a member state or a country. We are not United States. We are a union of 27 member states, where you also have a common parliament, European Parliament. You need always, it takes time to arrive at a compromise, especially if the matters are so complicated. But I think now, at least there is a full determination and understanding that we are really close to the wall. We can hit the wall if we don't solve the debt crisis in the Eurozone, that if we don't finally provide credible responses. So at least I think there's full determination and political will now mobilized to have solutions quickly.
You mean we will have solutions in the coming months and not just long conversations as we used to have for so long? As I identified, there are three main roads, different roads of decisions. The one is Sarkozy suggesting or even revising the treaty of the European Union. Angela Merkel is suggesting something else, more discipline on the Stability Pact. There are other key member states like Britain who are outside of the whole discussion, and we need to find ways to bring them in. So what will be? We are in a situation in which we don't know which direction should we
I think that there will be a decision taken on the need to revise the treaties. I think that the revision of the treaties should be done on the basis of the institutional model, so what we have already as a legal basis for the work of the European Union. Such a treaty should be ratified by all member states. That would be an ideal situation. I think that it should be open to every member state to join. If you can just imagine that it is a treaty that has an inclusive character, that's the only way forward. I think that if you don't open up such cooperation, enhanced cooperation or coordination to everybody, then you risk splitting the Union. Now, I don't say that with new treaty proposals we can solve the crisis, but I think we need to do two things at the same time. We need to find a solution now to stabilize the bond markets and to show that there is determination to defend the euro. And here we mean, for example, the actions by the ECB, European Central Bank, possible involving also IMF and other partners. And second, more long-term discussion is about the treaty revision and treaty changes. It is basically something that has to be done at the same time. But of course, treaty revision will take years, because you need to ratify it, and the ratification is a very lengthy process. We live in the time of crisis. We have to understand that the alternative to discipline and to economic reform, the alternative is really dire. The alternative is economic chaos, and the alternative is disintegration of the European Union. So this we cannot allow to happen.
Η πολωνική προεδρία ολοκλήρωνε τις ημέρες εκείνες τον εξάμηνο μαραθώνιό της. Στο τελευταίο Ευρωπαϊκό Συμβούλιο στις Βρυξέλλες, στις 8 και 9 Δεκεμβρίου, λήφθηκαν σημαντικές νέες αποφάσεις. Η εντολή για την υλοποίηση της αυστηρής δημοσιονομικής εποπτείας θα περάσει μέσα από τη Δανική και την Κυπριακή Προεδρία. Σε αυτόν συμφώνησαν ομόφωνα οι 17 χώρες της Ευρωζώνης. Από τους υπόλοιπους 10 εταίρους, όλοι πλην της Βρετανίας αποφάσισαν να συμπορευθούν. Ο στόχος είναι να σταθεροποιηθεί η Ευρωζώνη. Τα κράτη-μέλη δεσμεύτηκαν ρητά να κάνουν προϋπολογισμούς χωρίς ελλείμματα. Διαφορετικά θα δέχονται κυρώσεις. Αυτό είναι το νέο δημοσιονομικό σύμφωνο, με την ελπίδα ότι έτσι θα τερματιστεί η κρίση εμπιστοσύνης στις διεθνείς αγορές. Η οικονομική κρίση επέβαλε τους ρυθμούς της. Συνεχές παρασκήνιο. Πήγαινε έλα μεταξύ Βερολίνου και Παρισιού. Όταν η κρίση χρέους άγγιξε την Ιταλία και την Ισπανία, τα πράγματα έφτασαν στο όριο νευρικού κλονισμού. Σήμερα η αγωνία δεν έχει λήξει. Η Δανία και η Κύπρος έχουν να αντιμετωπίσουν τις αγορές που είναι ανυπόμονες και τα διεθνή μέσα μαζικής ενημέρωσης που είναι απαιτητικά. Κάθε κίνηση της Προεδρίας μετρά και πρέπει να ευθυγραμμίζεται με τους μεγάλους παίκτες, τα θεσμικά όργανα και τις ισχυρές χώρες του ευρώ. Η αδράνεια της Προεδρίας κοστίζει. Όλα έχουν ισχυρό αντίκτυπο στην Ευρώπη την ώρα που ανοίγουν και κλείνουν οι χρηματαγορές. Μέσα σε ένα τέτοιο κλίμα, η Προεδρία οφείλει να παίξει με όρους διαφάνειας, άμεσης ανταπόκρισης και έγκυρης πληροφόρησης. Αυτά γίνονται βασικά συστατικά για την επιτυχία μιας Προεδρίας. Πώς εξελίχθηκε η Πολωνική Προεδρία? Δίπλα στα πολιτικά στελέχη της κυβέρνησης της Πολωνίας στέκει μια δεύτερη ομάδα δράσης. Είναι η ομάδα επικοινωνίας της Προεδρίας. Επικεφαλής της ο Κόνραντ Νικλιέβιτς.
You are responsible for delivering the messages to the media and communicate mainly the key policies and the outcome of the Polish presidency inside Europe, worldwide, in Poland as well. I would like to know which were the key messages at the beginning of the Polish presidency.
Well, the first and the most important key message of the Polish presidency is that in the current state of things, we need more Europe, we need more integration, because only the deepened integration can save us from the crisis we are currently experiencing. Of course, integration means political integration, but also business, economic integration in such fields as macro governance. This is something the European Union has to fix, and it has to be fixed very quickly if we want to avoid further complications. So you are asking me what were the key messages. That was the first one, the most important. Then you can try to divide this key message into several elements. By saying that we need more Europe, we say that we have to have a more common EU policy in such fields as energy and in such fields as defense. By saying that we need more Europe, we mean that Europe needs to finish the integration of internal market. Internal market is 20 years old. It works quite well, but there are still some barriers, especially in the field of e-commerce, online commerce. There are barriers, like for example, for a very long time, Polish consumers were not able to purchase certain services or certain goods cross-border using the online services because of the national laws which prohibited this kind of sale. Those barriers have to be demolished, and that was one of the priorities of the Polish presidency. So this is it. I mean, we understand that our presidency was under the shadow of the crisis, and lots of media, lots of journalists, lots of commentators preferred to talk rather about the crisis than about the presidency and its achievements. We understand that. But we can assure you that the presidency at every moment tried to realize its own program, which was set up long before it started.
Tell us, which are the main challenges we are facing while implementing all these EU policies and being one of the, let's say, newcomers in the club?
Well, we no longer think of us as the newcomers, because many years has passed since we are in the European Union. The situation deeply changed. I mean, why should we divide Europe into the new members and the old members? Maybe we should use the different division, like for example, what European countries have the GDP growth right now? Maybe this is the division, because if it's the division, then Poland is one of the leaders in the European Union, because we were the only country with Cyprus, as far as I remember, not to have a recession during the crisis. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Η πολωνική προεδρία θέλησε να φέρει ξανά στο προσκήνιο τη συζήτηση για περισσότερη Ευρώπη. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση σπατάλησε πολύτιμο χρόνο χωρίς να εμβαθύνει στις διαδικασίες ενοποίησης. Η οικονομική κρίση την βρήκε εκτεθειμένη, αναποφάσιστη και δυσκίνητη. Πριν από 10 χρόνια υπήρχε το Ευρωπαϊκό Σύνταγμα και ιδανικές οικονομικές συνθήκες. Το ευρωπαϊκό εγχείρημα όμως προσέκρουσε βία στη συντήρηση της εθνικής κυριαρχίας. Όχι είπαν οι Ολλανδοί, όχι και οι Γάλλοι. Σήμερα τα πράγματα είναι διαφορετικά. Καθοριστικές οικονομικές αποφάσεις λαμβάνονται σε ευρωπαϊκό επίπεδο. Οι πολίτες αναγνωρίζουν ότι η οικονομική κρίση μπορεί να αντιμετωπιστεί μόνο με υπερεθνικές πολιτικές. Κάτω από την πίεση της ανάγκης, θέλοντας και μη, η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση αισθάνεται ότι πρέπει να προχωρήσει στην οικονομική ενοποίηση. Άρα και πολιτική ενοποίηση, λένε πολλοί.
Could you ever imagine that we will discuss even the collapse of the Eurozone, the breakup of the Eurozone? Now we discuss it.
I know this is why we live truly in dramatic times, and this is why we say there's no space for halfway measures. We have to get serious and we have to get decisions.
So if we are about to translate the slogan of the Polish presidency, more Europe, how will define it definitely as a matter of political will, how we will define it?
I think it's a question of mobilizing all the political capital, all the political will now to make sure that we move the European Union towards more integrated union politically and economically, because we have to know what is the alternative, and the alternative is dangerous for everybody.
So everybody has to put aside national interests?
Yes, we all have to show flexibility, loyalty to each other, and full determination to move forward the European Union.
Η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση μπορεί να πάει μπροστά. Η Προεδρία έχει ευθύνη να ενεργεί μεθοδικά, με προγραμματισμό και θετική ενέργεια. Οι προτεραιότητές της πρέπει να είναι εφικτές και κατανοητές στην κοινή γνώμη. Στην πρώτη γραμμή της Πολωνικής Προεδρίας μπήκε η άμεση ηλεκτρονική ενημέρωση. Η διάχυση πληροφοριών είναι ένα παιχνίδι δευτερολέπτων για κείμενα, εικόνες και βίντεο. Φτάνει να έχεις τους ανθρώπους σε ετοιμότητα. Οι υπουργοί, οι συνεργάτες τους, οι επικεφαλής ομάδων εργασίας είναι φορείς που παράγουν ειδήσεις. Χρειάζεται όμως ταχύτητα και εγκυρότητα στη διάδοση των ειδήσεων. Η Προεδρία είναι επιτυχής από τη στιγμή που είναι σε θέση να προσφέρει άμεση και θετική πληροφόρηση παντού, στην Ευρώπη, στον κόσμο και βέβαια εντός της χώρας που ασκεί.